And we're live. Welcome to yet another edition of our PCS Impact Q&A. I'm your host, MJ Boyce. I'm the Director of Community Outreach here at PCS Grades. Boom! Today we have a great show. We've brought back Sally Houston, our Director of Marketing here at PCS Grades, and she's going to come and hang out with us for a little while and help me with our new guest. Super excited. We're going to be talking to Mr. John Montemare, who is prior service Marine Corps, by the way. Hoorah, yuck, kill semper fi. Marines taking over, y'all. But before we get to our special guest and to Sally, I'm going to go through those housekeeping items with you as I do every week. Ready, set, here we go. All right, everyone, we've got the answers. And if we don't have those answers, guess what? We know who does. And if we don't know either of those things, we're going to take your questions for action and get back to you with an answer. Speaking of questions, any comments, concerns, shout outs, suggestions, go ahead and drop those in the comments section below for your chance to win an awesome housewarming gift. Because since we PCS so often, we really need that little bit of lift. And since our topic today revolves around home buying and selling, what better thing to give away than a home warming gift, which we will show you towards the end. So comments, questions, concerns, shout outs, suggestions, LOL smiley faces are highly encouraged, but don't count as an entry to win, people. All right. Next up, we bring you the experts. Experts like our friend John here and real estate agents that work with him. Experts like the U.S. Transportation Command or the International Association of Movers or military spouse employment advocates and military connected kid experts. We bring these experts to you because they're the source. But sometimes you're going to run into a situation that is specific to you and your military family. And in those instances, your two forever and always resources will be, number one, your local chain of command. Number two, your local transportation office. Those are the people who know you. Those are the people who are dealing with your stuff. Those are the people who can take your issues and further them for action. Of course, you always have PCS Grades at the helm. We've got your back when it comes to the must-solve relocation issues that we military families face. If you want to research your move ahead of orders, or if you're just looking to find a way to plug yourself into the new duty station, we've got area guides. We've got reviews where you can leave and read reviews from other military families like yours about your on-base housing, off-base neighborhoods, movers, schools, and so much more. So head on over to PCSgrades.com, but wait till the end because we got a fantastic show for you today. Last but certainly not least, and I modify this every week because it gets crazy every week, we got to keep doing our part, people. We've got to flatten that curve. We have got to flatten that curve. This Delta variant is out of control. I think it partnered with Murphy. I'm telling you, we need to flatten that curve. So be vigilant. Wear your mask, social distance, follow the local guidelines, because when we flatten that curve, we are going to flatten Murphy with it. Do you hear us, Murphy? We are coming for you. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Sally to introduce our special guest. Sally?
Hey, everyone. Great to be here with you today. We are super lucky because John, yes, is an expert agent, and he's going to give us great advice as home buyers and sellers. But more importantly is that John has a background serving in the United States Marine Corps. He served in the United States Marine Corps for over 27 years, and he gets what we're going through because he PCS'd over 17 times. John, I'd love to turn it over to you now to just tell us, our audience, a little bit more about you before we jump into today's content.
Sure. Thank you so much. It's really exciting to be here. Yes, I was in the Marine for 27 years. It went so quick. It was just like, boom, it was over. But I got to experience 17 moves. And I think my wife did at least 4 of those by herself. So I've had that experience where the wife or the husband has to do that alone, and it's pretty challenging. And that's why I think something like PCS Grades is a really good resource if you feel like you're all alone. You need some place to reach and get some assistance if you're doing this by yourself without your other spouse. In addition, I spent 10 years in DOD. 2 tours at the Pentagon, a couple of tours at Quantico. Know the area real well, have family in the area. And then I came over to real estate and discovered just absolutely fantastic people that work in this particular profession, particularly with the people that PCS Grades works with. I have a great team with Fairway Mortgage, another Army infantry officer I work with continuously, so he understands what it means to get product and with a real estate agent that's really supporting you. You can call him 24/7. And the same way goes with our lenders, Fairway Mortgage. You can call them 24/7. We've done deals 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, making sure that the buyer had all the details they needed to make a good decision from the finance perspective. So it's been super great. It came over because another Marine was doing this and decided to put together a cadre, a group of retired military folks to focus on reaching out and helping people that are DoD military and going this move. So it's just been an awesome experience meeting some great people, working in different real estate markets, but more importantly, making sure that military member gets in the house they want at a price they want, or sells their home at a time frame that they desire to meet their own personal objectives.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, welcome. I mean, that is one heck of a resume, but then again, 1 year of military life will pretty much do that to you. Okay. And we have some shout outs here from Team Carson. Over there are some of our spouse sponsors in Fort Carson. Shout out Marissa. And then we have Dustin Jenkins. Good evening from Germany. Shout out to our Oconus peeps. Yes, Dustin just completed not that long ago a PCS to Germany, and she allowed us to follow her journey, which was awesome because we don't often get to see the insides of that, and she let us in, and we're very thankful, Dustin. A lot of our Oconus, we have a huge Oconus following, and so a lot of them are actually sleeping right now, but we're happy to have you, Dustin. And then Angela, shout out Angela from Camp Lejeune. She also just completed a PCS from Beaufort, South Carolina, up to Lejeune, depending on your era. Don't want to date either one of us. And then, and she also said, Dustin, shout out. She just said, we finally found a house. So that is fantastic. Shout out. Wonderful. Okay. So we're going to kind of just dive right into some of these questions because the housing market over the last year has been a little woohoo. And, that plus military life often doesn't mix, right? So, John, we'd really love to have you provide kind of like an overview of the current housing market for our military families that are watching. We know that there's not like one single housing market. They're not all going to be the same. It varies by area. But what is your like general take on what the housing market looks like right now?
Yeah, well, it's not too often you get to buy a house or sell a house in a pandemic. So it's been a bit of a challenge for sure. And when the pandemic started, we really didn't know how to adjust to this. So everything kind of ground to a halt for a bit. And then everyone figured out after we were locked in for a couple of weeks or months, depending upon the location, that we need more space to figure this out. And everyone wanted to leave their condos and find a single family home. But the people that were still in their homes, us baby boomers, for instance, didn't think moving in a pandemic was a good thing. So along with the overall lack of inventory growth, because it's so hard to build homes with so many county and state regulations to move through, it's always a little bit slow. So it created an inventory shortage. And then, but along with the pandemic, the Federal Reserve helped us, and the interest rates came really, really super, super low. I mean, absolutely, where people said, I got to take advantage of this. And so with those big factors in mind, we created a shortage. I would say we hit an inflection point in June. So we're typically in Northern Virginia, we're about 30 to 45 days worth of inventory. We had gotten down to as low as about a week and a half inventory. I remember lining up 9 o'clock at night trying to get into see homes because it was so difficult. There's no inventory, but the inventory is coming up now, and we're about 3 weeks worth of inventory. Some places 4 weeks, which is, if you're thinking about buying now, please, I think the inventory is going to help you right now, and the interest rates are just super. So that's kind of a nutshell of all the crazy thing that's happening, and of course we're dealing a little bit with the Delta. It's slowed down a couple of my clients, but putting their houses on the market, but we're still seeing inventory come on the market, particularly in Northern Virginia. As you move south to north, you'll have a little bit more inventory as you move from Stafford to Prince William County, and then Fairfax is still a little bit tight, but buyers have choices now.
And you know what's funny? I'm actually writing some of this down because that's where I live.
Well, and I think, John, what's interesting is I hear you talking about these Northern Virginia regions. Would you say what you're describing in Northern Virginia is applicable to the major cities across the U.S.?
I think on the macro terms, how I describe kind of the market that's happening, but you do need to look at these micro markets, because within different counties and communities, particularly in Fairfax, you can be 1 block away and have a major price differential because the community, the neighborhood just changed so quickly. You could see $200,000 price difference, as compared to, like, if you're on Duke Street, Cameron Station, compared to some townhouses 2 or 3 blocks away. Major difference, because it's a completely different community. So there are micro communities, and Prince William County is the same. There's some communities where 1 block away you'll see a major price differential because the preference of the amenities of that community. So you do need to look at these micro markets, and that's why using a program like Realogy Military Rewards, you're going to find that agent who knows that, so you don't overpay for a home that shouldn't warrant the increase in price, or you do offer more for a home that's in that community with the amenities, the schools, everything you want on the new house.
Well, I really appreciate you bringing up the Realogy Military Rewards Program, and we definitely want to circle back to that in a little bit. I would say with what you're talking about with the inventory, you're seeing some more inventory. Would you still consider this a hot housing market, or would you say it's cooled off?
Oh, it's absolutely a hot. I'll give you some stats. So this month in Fairfax County, there's 800 houses on the market, which is an increase from about 765 last month. So you're seeing this increase. We're still not at the 12 to 1300 range, but you're seeing inventory increasing, which means you have options as a buyer to offer less perhaps than sale price, do your home inspection, and or perhaps negotiate for some closing cost help for the buyer. So if you're a buyer, definitely want to get with a good, strong agent from Realogy, work with Fairway, and lock into those low mortgage rates, because I think all the economists are predicting mortgage rates to increase. So this is a good time to lock in that sub 3% amount, because that's a super savings, historically low rates, and it's a great time to lock those in. And as you move south, there's even more opportunity for the buyer to negotiate that price and for help on the closing costs from the buyer.
Well, and I think, and then MJ, turn it back to you, but I think the thing that's so interesting, John, I know you're the real estate agent and you've got this real estate expertise. And a couple of times I've already heard you bring up Fairway, talking about the importance of a loan officer, which is something, that I think our audience could learn a lot about. Can you just elaborate on why you keep bringing up this component of the role the loan officer plays in the home buying process?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So the 3 things I like my clients to really get a handle on is the fact that there's 3 things you got to really, in your operational planning or you're planning to buy a home, is your financing, what you want in the home, number of rooms, yards, and then finally your location. But what working with that lender, you'll know your finances, so you don't get squeezed so tight. All you're doing is eating peanut butter. But he'll let you know how much you qualify for the mortgage, what your mortgage payment will be, variations if that interest rate fluxes, just a little bit, goes up or down, gives you some what if scenarios, and then gives us some targets so we can negotiate either that price coming down, or we can negotiate that getting some help from the sellers, which you get to keep a little bit more cash in your pocket. So when you move into your home, you're able to add that new furniture or change the paint color in a certain room, those type of things. So working closely with your lender, like Fairway, they're going to give you those options, those numbers, so you know where you are financially, and you're able to move into the home comfortably, not without sacrificing, going out, on the weekends or something, or going to restaurants, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So that's a really important team player for you, is have a good, strong lender. And I've had very good success with Fairway. And most real estate transactions and writing those offers typically are on weekends and after 6 p.m. So you want somebody that's going to answer that phone, give you those answers, so you can see those numbers and see if it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. I just have to throw, because as you're talking, we're getting a lot of interesting comments. Carrie, shout out Carrie. I'm glad it's hot, but as a soon-to-be buyer, I kind of want it to cool down.
Yeah. So the hard part on that is the balance. The balance being, what if that rate goes up too much, and puts me out of a house where I want to be. Now, so like I said, in June we hit that inflection point where inventory picked up and price increases kind of plateaued. So that's a really good indication when you look at the market data. That's what happened. The other thing that you have to track is those interest rates. So what would a quarter point be, a half point be in your monthly payments? And that's the other thing that needs to be accounted for and feed into your calculus as you take it. So it's the entire picture. Yeah.
For sure. Okay. So even though it is kind of slowing down slowly but surely, little by little, so given the highly competitive market, and I think you kind of touched on some of this earlier, but what top 3 tips would you give our audience if they were currently looking to buy a home, whether that's first-time buyers or subsequent buyers? Like, what's that big meat and potatoes takeaway, 3 of them?
Sure. I just had a program, a client from the Realogy program, and when we did the math with Fairway, he ended up saving $200 per month in comparison to renting. We got him a beautiful townhouse. It had been completely redone in the inside, everything. It was just a rip out everything. The owner had ripped out everything, put in everything brand new, and then working with Fairway, we actually got him the mortgage rate. His rate was low enough that when we got the numbers, if he would have rented that same home in that same neighborhood, he was saving $200 a month. Wow. So that is, that's why working with Fairway is good. He looked at the numbers, looked at the rent to own in that neighborhood. If he had to rent, he had to rent. And so, it just makes sense to buy it now and take advantage of the taxes and ownership, and it being his, plus everything was new. It was absolutely beautiful. And his payment is $200 less than the rent, because the rent market is super hot too. In fact, I did a rental where I had to process over 23 applications in 3 days for one rental home in the same price category. And again, we were at the $2,400 mark. And if someone would have bought it, they would have been at the $2,200 mark per month.
And that's something that I'm glad you brought that up because it is something that is actually making the PCS process a little more difficult. Like, we needed more of that in our lives. Is that a lot of families will PCS student duty station, and they are finding that there is, in some areas, no inventory. So they're stuck in short-term, now long-term housing, situations. And also, a lot of them are seeing that these rents are jumping up exponentially to keep up with that housing market. So it's going well over that BAH that we are allotted. So they're either facing, okay, well, we're going to stay where we're at until we can find a reasonably priced place to live. So we're not living, out of a suitcase for 4 months. Some people are choosing to go the RV route. And, some people are just choosing to do the Geo Bachelor situation in general. And so, I do know that the DOD has, at least for 56 locations, upped that BAH temporarily, as increased it. And just for the record, I'm a huge proponent, by the way, of making that permanent based on the housing market in any specific area. It does nothing but help the military families to concentrate on the mission. That's a thing.
Yeah. Man, we are getting so many good questions in here. I'm going to hold some of those. I think, John, you really elaborated on the importance of the loan officer, but of course, your role as the real estate agent, it is so, or especially in this hot market, is so important. Can you just name to our audience why it's so important to have an agent you trust and an agent who understands the needs of the military community?
Yes, absolutely. Because I was fortunate enough. I've lived in Stafford. I've lived in Prince William County. My son lived in Arlington. I worked at the Pentagon. So all these areas are really familiar to me, which is really good because when you look at Zillow data or any other market data, there's about a 15 to 30 day lag time on those. And often the Zillow data doesn't catch up till a week or two after a property is posted for sale with their Z estimates. So you really want an agent that really knows those areas like the back of their hand and saying, hey, I know Zillow is saying this, but the reality is I just saw 4 more properties come on the market within a half mile. So for you as the buyer that says, I've got more options, I can make a more aggressive offer, save more money, ask for more repairs, do the full home inspection. I can ask for closing costs. So that's why you really need an agent that's keyed in the training that we get through Realogy and knows those areas. So and I just saw something pop up real quick, and the reason I know that is because I actually track the data on Zillow when I post my listings, and I'll see them at about the 7-day mark. Zillow makes an adjustment, and about the 10 to 12-day mark, Zillow makes an adjustment based on the number that I put the price the home at and put it on the internet, and then they make their adjustments. Now, typically they're within the range that Zillow gives you, but that point estimate can either be 2 to 3% high or 2 to 3% low. And it's typically because they never walk in a home. They're taking public data, using private algorithms, which you really never really see, but they do compensate based on where that agent or that realtor puts the price point. And perhaps they look at some of the pictures through some AI software that they have to look at upgrades. So that's kind of how they do that. It's just the fact that they haven't been in the home. And a lot of times Zillow doesn't understand neighborhoods that are block to block yet totally different. But they do pick up the price differentials once you post it. So that's really important. And so that agent needs to know the area well so that you're not submitting an offer based on data that's 2 weeks old when the market has already changed. So that was really important. That was really important in December last year when the inventory shortage really hit. So a lot of my clients thought I was pricing their homes to sell too high. And I said, no, because I'm taking my buyers out and we're lined up at homes to see your home, to see in the same neighborhood. We're lined up at 8 o'clock at night trying to get in to see homes. There's an inventory shortage and the data hasn't reflected that yet. You need to take advantage of it, get an extra $5,000-$10,000. So that's why you need an active agent that understands the market data but also is boots on the ground, walking the neighborhoods.
I notice it's interesting you say that, because I was finding myself for quite a few months there. It was both me and my husband would be like, "Hey, babe, look at this house." Oh, just kidding. Hey, oh, what about this one? Nope,
Yeah.
under contract, wasn't updated. Nope, that's gone. That's long gone. So you're absolutely right, because the agents have the in now, like info.
Well, it's interesting too. I mean, I remember when we sold our last home, we interviewed a couple of agents, and there was one agent we interviewed that couldn't tell me anything about the area we lived in. It just became really apparent she didn't understand the value that the neighborhood offered and how that would increase the value of the home. And so I really like this point you're making, John, about like, yeah, the market price matters because you can't just go off of Zillow. There's that lag time. But two, if they don't understand the area and where the house is located, they can't really help you get the best price as the buyer or the seller. So I think those are great points. And I mean, what would you add though with that military lens? Like, why does a real estate agent who understands the needs of the military community, like how has that come into play in your work as an agent?
Oh, absolutely. So, doing PCS moves, you typically have 2 to 4 days, 5 days, maybe max, to get into an area and look at homes and try to make a decision. So your agent needs to understand that, and he needs to, or she needs to, block that time for you, and they have to put aside a few of their other clientele and focus on the military member as well as that lender, so that when you narrow that scope down where you want to look, and you're writing that offer at 10 o'clock at night, and the lender's there helping you with the numbers, and you're submitting the whole package, and the lender is either calling or submitting an email saying, "Hey, my client, my DoD client is absolutely perfect credit scores. They're doing great." All of that adds into the offer, but you're compressed in a time frame, and you got to be on target on time. And that's really important. You can't say, "Well, I'll get to you Tuesday." "Oh, you're leaving on Monday. We're sorry." So that agent needs to understand your time frame, what it means to you to have a house locked down, so when you PCS, you have someplace to go. So that whole team is really important. The other thing I have to say with our team is that we have incredible reach back with our attorneys. So if something's really going goofy or weird or just in the gray area, my company, Century 21, is able to, we reach back to our attorneys, and they're on my speed dial. I just say, "Hey, Scott, this says this in this contract. Should I change it, or what do you think?" Doesn't have any impact at all. It may not, but I want to get him to look at that. And that's what a totally integrated team does for you, is provide that reach back. So you're confident when you sign that contract how much it's going to cost you and what the implications are. So, and it needs to be on a short timeline for a military member. And I think that's what we do best at Realogy.
Yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because, okay, I think it's absolutely I echo everything that you say, and especially for myself, soon to be a first-time home buyer. The one thing that I'm going to be concentrating on is, does this person, I'm trusting you with the biggest purchase of my life. You better know your stuff. I mean, you're going to get a commission. You're definitely going to be earning your cash, and that's great. But I need you to go that extra mile and understand, because it wouldn't be fruitful for me. I need somebody who understands VA home loans. I need somebody who understands, what contingencies or whatever there will be if my husband got orders and we had to leave at the drop of a hat. What does this mean? What does that mean? And so I need somebody who understands the military life, because it's a little bit different than the civilian buying process. So can you tell our audience, what steps can any of our audience take to ensure that they find that trusted agent?
I would definitely stop with Realogy, because, we go through an additional training program, as well as the standard realtor ethics training and all the other training we get. And typically I've run it, my team that I used to be with before, one of them decided to just go hang out on the lake. We were all Realogy agents. We were all military, DoD. In fact, we'd all flown helicopters. So, just really weird guys, I guess. But used to working with checklists. We're used to working with reach back to people that we trust. And frankly, we just, we have that bond. Like I said, my loan officer is a former Army infantry officer, so I have great trust with him. He's going to come in, and we know that when we're on call, when this is happening, there's no 9 to 5. There's we're going to get it done for you, and so we're focused on your timeline, and I think that's really the critical piece, is that we don't put you aside. We're going to focus on you, get the job done in that 2 to 3 days, get you the expertise that we need. Obviously, I'm not a lawyer, but we have reached back to lawyers that answer their phones, at 9, 10 o'clock at night.
And a lot of our military families, and I actually did this when we moved here, when we rented here, because when we came up here for house hunting leave from South Carolina, we didn't find what we were looking for. So we had to, when we got this place, the agent that helped us, she had to walk through sight unseen. Like I the first time that we got here was in the dark, didn't know where the light switches were. Like literally. So what tips do you have for buying a home if you're purchasing one without actually stepping foot inside?
Yeah, that's a tough one. The best thing to do is start early. So let your agent do the early reconnaissance of first the neighborhood, and then pick your top 3 homes, and let's go look at them. We're gonna step. We actually did this for another Realogy client that was coming from California, Camp Pendleton, and so we put boots on the ground at each house. So sometimes you can tell if your home is sitting behind a hill and you're going to have basically drainage issues from water coming up that hill, we're going to move away from that house. If we go out and look at the house and we see that roof is nasty looking, we're going to say we're going to move away from the house. So if you can't get in the house, what we need to do is do an external examination, see if there's any environmental factors that, whether it's the terrain or trees, we'll look at that neighborhood and give you that evaluation ahead of time so you can take that off the list. Secondly, we're going to do a market data search on them. Right now, there's a lot of places you can go to pull historical pictures of that property. And also there's places on the working through our insurance providers that you can find if there's been an excessive number of claims on that house. And there's also another service we use, which pulls 14 data points that concern that home. Everything for, does it have a resource protection area? Is there a dam area? And then critically, if you're going to buy a septic or a well system, we're going to pull the data on that, because a lot of historical data, if the home has a septic or well, like a lot of them do in Stafford, we want to know the age of that system right off the bat, because we may take it off if it's older than 20 years. So we're doing all that data. If you have to do that, even to the point of peering in windows if the house is empty.
Oh my gosh, turning into a peeping Tom. Oh my gosh, PCS peeping Tom.
But you need that, like you really.
It's reconnaissance.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that word better. That's a better word.
Exactly. I saw, Teresa, you can post Carrie's question about Realogy. Is Realogy nationwide? It is nationwide. And MJ, I want to make sure I'm doing this the right way. I was going to share my screen and just show y'all a little bit more about our program. Y'all, can y'all see my screen here?
Let me add it.
Is there? Oh, perfect. So y'all have heard John mention continuously, like we have the Realogy Military Rewards Program. So if you are buying or selling your house, like, yes, you can get the military-friendly real estate agent like John, who is awesome and understands what you're going through, whether it's buying sight unseen or having a really quick turnaround with your PCS. All those things John has described. Through the program, you do get set up with a military-friendly agent, which is awesome. The cash back when you close, whether you're buying or selling, is also a really nice perk. So Carrie, it is nationwide. There are some exceptions for some states, but for most, each state has its own rules, but in some cases you can get a gift card back. It just depends on where you're buying or selling. It's super easy. You sign up for free. You can opt out at any time. You get matched with your agent, and then you get cash back after you buy or sell. If you're curious to see how much you would earn when you close on your home, you can use our cool little calculator here, and then check out some of the testimonials we have. And with any other questions that pop up, we've got answers to those as well. So if you're wondering about that program, definitely check out the link Teresa's going to drop in the comments section. And we can answer any of those questions you have here too. John, would you add anything to that?
No, it's a great program, and I think the good part about it is that they're vetted to a higher level than just your standard real estate agent, which is very helpful. And the program, for those that haven't served in the military, they do a great job of bringing people up to speed to understand what you're going through.
Yeah. And Carrie, you are welcome. You are welcome. Well, how do you see the market changing in 2022?
I think for the buyers, it's going to be, you don't have to compete against multiple offers now. I think maybe one or two offers you may have to compete at, if at all, depending upon where you are. If you're in Stafford County or if you're in Fairfax, different markets, there's places in Stafford County where the buyers are being very aggressive, which is very positive for them, very positive. So I think I think our rates are going to remain low going into the first quarter, according to Federal Reserve. So that's great. So you're going to have inventory increasing. You do need to watch your interest rates, depending upon what the Federal Reserve decides to do.
Right.
But I would say for the next, going into the first quarter, you'll be fine. And then after that, you're going to reevaluate based on decisions that the Federal Reserve is making.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But, I just got to say though, as an old guy, I started out buying homes in double digits for interest rates. So to me, below 5% is great, but I understand completely. I started out 14%, which is crazy. But at anything below 3% is fantastic, and I'd say anything below 3.5 right now is really super, super good. You'll be taking advantage of that interest rate. So I'm projecting not higher than 3.5 over 2022, which is still a really good rate. But it's not 3%, obviously. But I think it'll be pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And okay, sorry. Okay, what about selling? What about selling homes? Like, what advice can you give to our audience from the seller's point of view, if they're
right? So selling wise, so overall in Northern Virginia, the inventory is still about. Let me look at some data here. It's still roughly at that 3-week mark. Typically, we're at about a month and a half mark. So it seems like there's more inventory because it was so tight from December to June, but it is still a tight market. So if you do the right things to your house, you will get in a multiple offer situation. I've had 2 homes where both military members, they did the right things. They did improvements to the house, fresh paint, fresh carpet, landscaping. And in both cases, we were in a multiple offer situations, and they got above what they were looking for because they had great location. And then they did the things so that to truly make a move-in ready home. So all the data out there from the survey show that most buyers for a move-in ready home, fresh paint, fresh carpet, updated kitchen, updated bathrooms. If you do 4 out of 5 of those, you're going to get the price points you want. So it's still a seller's market. It's just not a red hot seller's market where from December to June, you could sell a house as is and you were getting 4 to 5 to 6 offers. That's not the case anymore. You do need to go through the normal preparation to sell that house. But if you do the right things, you will get 1 to 2, 3 offers. Typically, right now in Fairfax County, they're getting 100.7%. So you're getting full list price plus a little bit more for the median sales right now. So that's very good. That's very good. It shows that you're still in a strong market, and the days on market's about 15 days, which is really good because typically it is about 27 days in a normal market. non-COVID market. So still that's very, very good.
And Jenna, we saw you with this. You're selling, so make sure you get to painting so your house is ready. I have one more question. I've heard of a few folks I know forgoing the home inspection to get their home to be the most competitive buyer. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I just had that happen 2 weeks ago from my seller. So first of all, if you're using a VA loan, that is the ultimate in protection for the buyer, because the VA puts a little extra criteria for their appraisal process. And in that appraisal process, they actually do like a safety of the homeowner, health and comfort type look for that home. So I believe the VA will look a visual foundation look, and to also do what's called a head and shoulders into the attic to make sure that everything's okay in there. They'll make comments about roofs. They'll make comments about broken windows, doors not working, steps, safety, decks. So they're not afraid to do that. So as well as the fact that their appraisals are the most restrictive. So what that means is they're very conservative in their appraisal process, and they will definitely not overvalue a property. So if you make a multiple offer to that buyer and you feel like you've overpaid, the appraisal is going to help you reel that in. Okay. And so that's really good to make sure you're within the true parameters of that house. And then lastly, they will put what's called conditions on the loan that the seller needs to correct if they find them. Things like unsafe decks, unsafe steps, or if they open that electrical panel box and it looks like it's missing some circuit breakers, they'll make all those comments to be corrected. So by having the VA loan, you've got the extra protection. So if you do decide to waive that home inspection, which depends on the house, then you do have some security in that VA appraisal and the VA process. But you do take some risk. In the state of Virginia, it's caveat emptor. So, if you waive that home inspection, it's all on you. You're buying the house as is, except what they find on that appraisal. But it does make your offer very, very competitive. So for my clients, I say, if those upgrades have been done within the last 5 to 7 years, typically you're probably going to be okay, because during the upgrade process, you need to get inspections from the county for the different things you upgrade your home on. So the county's going to be in there looking at your house, getting an extra look. And so when you see those, that it's been signed off on the county records, that's very, very helpful. And a good agent, if he sees a lot of major changes on the house, he's going to check those county records to see that the county conducted inspections on those for those homes. So if you do have to do that, then that's one way to kind of give you some assurance that your home's going to be fine. And if you have to do that in competitive places. So the last thing is, if you can get in the house and you write that offer, trust your nose. Very important because that mildew kind of damp smell, that's just tell yourself that's very expensive to fix. So trust your nose. And if you do buy the house, realize you could be spending upwards of $40,000 to get that fixed by, when you go through the whole process. So typically I tell my clients, anything that smells musty or damp, that's the most expensive smell in the world for a home. So I suggest we move to the next house.
I feel like that needs to be a new real estate hashtag. Trust your nose. Yeah.
Trust your nose.
And I mean, like, then that can mean a lot of things. That could mean, like smelling mildew or smelling BS a mile away.
Yeah,
honestly.
or smelling. Now, the other thing is too, pet dander and smoke are very hard to get out and expensive to get out of the house. You're probably going to end up changing carpets and repainting for sure.
We had a couple of questions. And actually Dustin here is on like fire. She's all over this. One of the questions, which I thought was interesting, she kind of asked, what types of homes do you see being sold the most right now, like pre-owned, new build, fixer upper, but specifically, and I think she's a planner. You're type A, aren't you, Dustin? And how has the market affected building homes? She said, I've seen a lot of people want to build, but they get discouraged away, and she's forward planning.
Okay, so there's two types of builds going on. There's two types. The first is a tract builder like Ryan Homes. So those homes were bid up, full price and beyond. They're actually adding things like extra charges for lot premiums, no discounts whatsoever. It got really crazy because they're building big tracts. They're assuming all the risk for you, and they really got a lot of markups. So, but the trade-off is when you look at your break-even curve, is about 10 for the first 10 years, you really don't have to do anything. So that's the trade-off for paying the higher price. They're limited by state and county codes and regulations of all the processes they have to go to build on large tracts. And those, so you're looking 10 years out for things like that. And they pretty much built out in, I would say from Prince William all the way up to Arlington. It's pretty much built out. Then you'll get into the smaller builders, and what's happening in the Arlington, Fairfax area is they'll find a house in a neighborhood that's kind of just beginning to turn around. They'll buy a $400,000 or $500,000 house, totally demolish it, and then start over and build a new house on it, a beautiful home. And those are, I will say they were going like a 900, but I think they're up to 1.2 now because those are in demand, 1.2 million. And then the second piece is if you find your land, which is very difficult in Prince William County and Fairfax, going to be near impossible at a reasonable price. You can still find some at Stafford, and then as you move further west towards Winchester. But you're going to go through an entire process. You're going to assume all that risk, which means you're going to have to do a site survey, and you're going to have to get a person to help you move through. Can you put the septic system? Do you have a well? Do you have power? Can your home fit on that site properly? And would it meet all the codes? And that's a 30 to 60 day process that you pay upfront. So when you write the offer for that land, you write in that contingency, and then you go through that process. You're going to spend $2,000 to $3,000 just making those evaluations before you sign for the land, and then you would take on a second building contract. But you need to bring your builder in when you're buying the land to see if his architectural design will actually work on that piece of land, as well as all those other elements. So it's a full-time program manager, site manager job that you'll have to do working with all these other entities. You can hire another site manager, but it's going to cost more money. So then it moves out to that 3,000, 4,000 range if someone else is doing it for you and report it back to you.
That's a lot. I'm getting a little scared. No, actually.
Plus you assume all the risk if they get down and your well hits something, you have to go another 200 or 300 feet, and it costs, doubles the price of the well. If you bring electricity to the property, it could be, depending upon where you are, it could be a couple of thousand to 15 to 20,000 just to bring electricity to the property.
Yeah.
It depends where your land is. Mm-hmm.
I want to know if Dustin is still planning on building her home.
It's exciting. I've had clients do that, and they actually built right as COVID was building, started, and they bought 30 acres plus the house plans. They were at the 450 mark total, and post-COVID, they got their final appraisal because they're refinancing, and they're up in the 650 mark already. So yeah.
That is crazy. And just a little bit of feedback from some of our viewers. Carrie, shout out Carrie. She said this has been so informative, which is what our goal is here. If we can help one person, we also have Julie. Shout out Julie. She's one of our spouse sponsors in the Fort Hood area in Texas. And Dustin, to answer your question, Sally, she said maybe. We have 3 more years of saving before he retires, so it is still possible. But smart that she's like already looking at it, right?
Yeah, now's the time to start and figure out where you want to be, and to start looking at your land prices, and then figure out, the more land you have, that makes it easier, because sometimes the county won't allow your home to be placed on a certain site that you want. But if you got more land, you can move it around, because the most important thing is that septic field for your sewage waste. That's where you get the most constraints from the county, because of the environment.
Yep.
And I have to throw this out there again, because Dustin, you kind of rock. I'm just going to go ahead and make an executive decision, because I can do that because I'm the host. And so I'm going to go ahead. Dustin, you win today, and you don't just win our day; you win the PCS giveaway, the housewarming gift. So I just kind of want to show everybody what that is, really quick. If Murphy decides to just go away for a second. All right, here we go. This is the gift. So they're hand towels, and they're awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Every now and then I fall apart. This is my jam. Don't go baking my heart, and I like big bunts, and I cannot lie. We need a little bit of humor in our life, especially if you're a PCS to Germany. It's a housewarming gift for sure.
Yes.
So congratulations, Dustin. I'll get with you on the back end. And you're very welcome. I'll get with you on the back end to get your new address out there in good old Germany, Oconus. We love our acronyms. So I would really like to thank you, John, for being on with us today. It was honestly very informative. And again, some of us are walking into this home buying process, and we're walking into it in this type of market. So this type of education is absolutely necessary. And we really thank you for coming on board and talking with our audience.
Thank
you. Of course, Ura, Yut Semper Fi.
John, if any of our viewers want to reach out to you and they're like, I want John to be my real estate agent starting tomorrow, how can they find you?
Sure. It's just go type in my name into Google, and I'll come up, or just johnmontemayor.realtor@gmail.com.
Okay.
There you go. And we'll make sure we drop those in the comments section for you.
Yeah, I'd love to help them. I'm moving all the way from the Pentagon through Prince William County, Stafford. I'm now moving out towards Winchester, a lot of sales, because the prices have really, it's where people want to be. And the other thing is telework. So people want to be out, where they have room to spread out with telework. And that's been a big pandemic change.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Awesome. Okay. That is all we have today. Again, thank you so much, John. We're going to drop his email in the comments section. So if you have any saved rounds, comments, questions, concerns, go ahead and leave them in there, and we'll make sure that you can get in touch with him. And of course, if you have any questions for us, let us know. So the next couple of weeks, we're kind of going to be on a slight hiatus. We are going to be doing some Facebook Lives, but we are traveling. We are going to Millspouse Fest in Fort Drum in about 2 weeks. And next week, PCS Grades will be at the AUSA conference here in the Washington, D.C. area. But we have a lot going on. We've got a lot of initiatives. So stay tuned on the PCS Grades Facebook page, because it's about to be giving season, and we've got some stuff in store for y'all. So ordinarily I would say until next week. So what I will say, until next time, this too shall PCS. Bye, everybody.
Bye.